Hi, everyone. My name is Riley Taggett. I am a research assistant with a research intern with Vision Center. This is the second podcast of Vision Center's podcast called InVision, and I am interviewing Jenna Potter, who graduated from Western Kentucky University with her undergraduate degree this past December, December of 2023, with a degree in healthcare administration. Prior to her last semester, Jenna completed an internship with Christian Care Communities at their property called Village Manor. And Jenna is currently in the Jump/Masters program at Western that allows undergraduate students to begin their master's during their senior year of undergrad. And she is pursuing a master's in healthcare administration as well. So the point of the Vision Center and the point of the podcast is that Vision Center aims to inspire passionate students in the field of aging services to meet leadership needs of the country with higher quality, educated programs and partnerships for rewarding, impactful careers. So a little background, me and Jenna actually are in the same program and we know a little bit about each other, but our entrance into the senior living field was very different. So Jenna, how did you realize that senior living was your interest and something that you wanted to pursue?
So I was actually in my second year of college. My first year, I was like, oh, I'm for sure going to go into healthcare. I was like, maybe I want to become a doctor. So I kind of thought about that. And then I actually started working for a company called Home Instead. So I was a caregiver and I got to go to people's homes and take care of them. And I absolutely fell in love with it, which I knew that I loved the senior population. I've always loved my grandparents. They've actually been my favorite people ever. Um, I have such a big family, but I'd always gravitate towards my grandpa. So I started working for Home Instead. I worked for them for about a year and a half. This was also during COVID, so this was really difficult. So I kind of became all of their like point of contacts for everything. They were ill, COVID, very scary. So I became like their point of contact. They opened up to me. We became really good friends. I was like family to them, their family to me. And so once I started working, I was like, I'm gonna change my major. I was like, I love doing this and I love being with these people. So I think that's really what got me started. And then I started looking into it and then I found Christian Care Communities, Village Manor, where I interned, and I have loved it ever since. And I just knew I had a passion.
So
So
when it comes to home instead, for people who don't know what that is, it's a home healthcare company, correct? So
yes,
what did you do? Were you hands-on? Were you more an administrative position? What was kind of your role?
I was hands-on. So every week I would get an email and be like, hey, this person needs a sitter if you're available. And I'd be like, oh yeah, like I'm available. And I'd go and I eventually had a schedule about like after a month, I had the same three people that I took care of. So I would help them make meals, I would take them to the store if they needed, I would help them get dressed. It just depend on their situation and what all they could do. Or I'd help them take their medication or give them a bath, or even if they just want to be with somebody, like I would just go sit with them, watch movies with them, help them navigate their phone, call their family because it was COVID. So I was just kind of really just their backbone, whatever they needed. Sometimes I'd just go hang out, we'd talk for a little bit, or I'd help them clean their home, I'd help them get dressed, things like that.
Gotcha. So then from there, you went on to Village Manor, which is a continuing care community in Bowling Green. Side note, me and Jenna, that's actually where we met. We were both interns there,
Oh,
but we had similar roles, but we were always revolving. So is there anything that particularly stuck out to you while working at Village Manor? I know you're still there, but
yeah. I'm still there. I'm still an intern. I just don't do as many hours as I did the past semester. However, I started and it was really different because I started in home health. So I was in people's homes. I was really close to them. And then Village Manor, it's a community. So they've got apartments and things. So it was different for me because I was used to being in people's homes. But I gravitated towards it really fast. So the residents there, it was really actually really hard for me because there was a bunch of people. I was used to taking care of like one or two people. Then there was a bunch of people. So now I'm learning all these names. I'm learning about their background. It was kind of overwhelming at first, but then after a few weeks, it was amazing. And I'm still learning about them every day. So it really broadened my scope that I truly want to do this. I love getting to know people. I love helping them. I love getting to know their background. But I've been with Village Manor for a little while. So now my main focus really is helping admin. So at first I was with residents doing activities with them, but now I'm like helping admin. I'm learning the process that they do, the paperwork that they have to do, how it correlates with the residents and things like that.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
So, seeing as I don't have any background with like hands-on care, so seeing as you do, what would you say like is your path into senior living now, since you've seen the hands-on side and the more administrative side? Which side do you think that you're going to go into more in your career?
I definitely want to go into the admin side just because I feel like I can make more of a difference. As an admin, I feel like I could reach more people, help them grow, help communities be successful. But there's still gonna be a part of me that's every day gonna go out with the residents, talk with them, want to like eat meals with them. I feel like that's never gonna change. I'm always gonna want to have that one-on-one like relationship with them. So I definitely want to go into admin just because I feel like I'm gonna help more people that way. But I am still gonna take time out of my day to keep those like relationships. They're great. They're amazing. People become family so fast.
Mhm. Yeah, that's the one thing I do really like about the administration side is you do also get the hands-on with, even walking the dining room or when residents move in, getting to meet them. So I too, I agree with you. That's definitely a part of admin that I like. When you think about your field experience so far, what would you say has been the most impactful thing about it?
The most impactful thing. Um, Well, I'm just probably being with the families, honestly.
Mhm.
Um, so it was like at first really hard because in senior living you're gonna have deaths. People are gonna pass away and move on, and like that's just every day. That's just what happens. So it was really hard for me at first, but then it became most impactful to me because I eventually had relationships with these residents who would pass, and I would actually have their family like send me cards like thanking me and being like, "Thank you so much." Like they loved you and like they loved talking with you and you brought a smile on their face. So that was probably like the most impactful thing to me. It really helped me like get over that fact of like this is really sad. Like this is hard. Um, but it's helped me grow. It definitely has. And it's been most impactful for me. The families thanking me and being like, "Oh, it's amazing," and all these things. Like they supported me more than I could probably support them
Mhm.
at the beginning. But now that I've grown to it, I'm like, this is what I'm meant to do. Like I feel very like impacted by the families. So
So actually that makes me think of a question. Because you were saying, it's kind of sad, when you have your first couple residents that you're close with who end up passing. Would you say that you had any misconceptions about senior living on the community side since you weren't familiar with it?
I definitely did. Um, so I remember, I believe it was my third day at Village Manor. It was my third or fourth day, and someone had passed away, and everyone was talking about it and talking about their funeral, and the only thing I wanted to do was cry. I was like, "Oh my goodness, like that is so sad." But then like no one else was crying, so I was like, maybe like it's very odd, like they're not crying. I came to realize now that I've been there, they see it every day. So it's not like it is sad to them, but it's also happy to them that they were like there for them at the end stages of their life and they were there to comfort them and give them happiness. Um, so that's definitely changed. At first I was very confused. I was like, oh, like I'm a lot more sad than the people who like have been here for a while, but I get it now that I've been there. I've been there for a few months, so it's very rewarding to see that they choose to be with you at the end stages of their life, and you get to comfort them, and they bring smiles to your face, and you bring smiles to their face. So, I would definitely say yes.
Yeah, that was always an interesting part to me too, because obviously I've grown up going to these communities, so I've been super familiar with the
Mhm.
industry and kind of what the not the vibe, but what the community kind of feeling is.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in one of my field experiences, and one of the servers, she was an older lady, and she was like, I used to be a caregiver, but I remember towards like the end of my career with that, I wouldn't even cry or anything. And that's when I knew I had to get out. Because
Yeah.
some people they don't want it to be like that. But when you are running a community or working in administration, you know, sometimes you can't get too tied up, which sounds a little bit cold, but then once you go into it and realize the reality, it definitely is interesting. I hadn't really thought about it before.
Yeah, yeah. So at first I was like really concerned because I was like, oh, like no one's really upset. But then I realized you have to look at it in the positive way. Like they choose to be with you at the end stages of their life. They choose to be comfortable with you. Like that's where they want to be. And they get to make decisions with you and they get to make new relationships with you. So it really is like like rewarding. And you get to look back and like, oh, when this resident first moved in to them passing away, like there's so many memories, like so many good things. So definitely there's a lot of positives and all the negatives. So you got to look at it that way.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a really good perspective to have.
Mhm.
What would you say are some setbacks in senior living, whether you've seen them in your own field experience or, just in school? We talk a lot about those topics. What would you say are like a couple that come to mind for you?
So, when you ask me that question, the first thing that comes to mind is class. We have classes together and we did in the past. So our
Mhm.
school definitely pushes acute care. So, when long-term care questions come about, like when I ask questions about long-term care and senior living and things like that, they're very minimum. And it's the people that answer these questions that don't really know much about senior living. And so they know that all that they know is all the myths about senior living. So, to me, that's kind of a setback. But then, like, I went out, I did my own research and things like that, and all the myths aren't true. So it just makes me wanna grow and tell everybody about the senior living, like, that I promise it's not what you think it is. It's quite one of the best places you could be.
Yeah, that has been kind of an interesting perspective that me and you have both had because our school does not really have that many senior living students, even though they have a great healthcare administration program, but they do tend to push acute. I think me and Jenna have both experienced our teachers. Why would you go into senior living? Go to hospital administration. And it's one of those things where, you're like, wait, why are you trying to convince me to leave the path that I want to take? So
Yeah.
it's an interesting experience. I mean, I don't think it's ill-willed or anything, but it makes you wonder, if your own teachers have these misconceptions, no wonder staffing is so difficult because people are being persuaded to go the other route.
Mhm. There's all the misconceptions and myths, and there's n I don't like, even in our classes, like, I was like, "Oh," like, I even talked to other students who because 'cause they're like, "Why do you wanna go into long-term care?" And I just talk about it and talk about it, and I'm just like, I like, the myths that you always hear about and you think about, like, it's really not that. You never really know until you go and you get to hang out with the residents and the staff and things like that. So I think that's why, like, there's so many myths, just because people don't tend to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to this senior living community and hang out with them," and things because they just have the bad thoughts, but it's never like that.
No, I think that it's also been interesting how Vision Center does the monthly myths. You participated in one,
Yep.
and if you go through the Instagram, you can see the different myths people had before going into senior living. And it's like, if all of us had these misconceptions, you can only imagine what the general public really thinks.
Yeah, like,
So,
I had the same
but
misconception until I started working, and then I was like, "Wow," like, I really
mhm,
had the wrong idea. So, there's a lot of misconceptions.
yeah. So speaking Yeah, I completely agree with you. Speaking of the misconceptions, how do you think that senior living can acquire more high school and college age students to be informed versus listen to misconceptions? Like, how can we get more people who are younger into the industry?
So, I actually thought about this for a project once upon a time, a few months ago, and the big thing now is social media, technology. As we
Mhm.
I think everyone saw it. So, I'm in Bowling Green, and there is a senior living community who started doing TikTok, and they got a lot of focus, and then actually Rihanna ended up sending them flowers. So I think helping all the
Mhm.
misconceptions is myth is getting onto social media. It's growing every day, and the younger population uses it. I use it every day. So I think being more like on the social media with our marketing side would definitely help the younger generation like realize that it's not all what you think it is or what people say it is. So like TikTok is huge, Instagram's big, Facebook is big. So I think definitely promoting what the seniors do every day in senior living would definitely help the younger generation be more interested.
I agree with you. I think social media is the way to get them invested, but I think it also begs the question of, you can't just go in and start recording residents, so you have to get waivers and companies of liabilities. And also, if you're in high school, do you really want to follow an account that's posting seniors? So I think that there's just a lot of barriers to overcome, even
Yes.
with social media. Like I think the community that you mentioned during the Super Bowl last year, I think a lot of people saw that and were like, wait,
Yeah.
that's so cute. I didn't know that's what senior living was like. So more stuff like that, people definitely engage with. But I
Mhm.
think that communities need to do more posts like that. I
Yeah,
think that
there's
that
definitely
was a really, really cool video.
that was amazing. There's definitely a bunch of regulations for posting on social media and pictures and things like that. But when I'm working with my community, my residents, they're always like, "Can we take a picture together?" Or like, "Can I just send a video with you to my like granddaughter and my daughter?" And I love that. So I definitely think regulations are going to change in the future, and like residents are going to have like more of a say, and they're going to want to be open to it because I mean, when I form the relationships with them, they're like, "Oh, I just want to show you to my daughter," and things like that, and
Mhm.
it's amazing. So, I think it's definitely rocky with being like residents on social media, but I think that they'll be definitely open to it, like in the near future or now even.
Yeah, you actually just reminded me. It probably will be more open because as the younger generations begin to age, I think part of the problem is a lot of seniors currently are not familiar with technology or were forced to get familiar during COVID. So it's not something they particularly love doing. But there's definitely, the younger generation is, Facebook, Instagram. So I agree with you. I think that social media will become a lot more pivotal in senior
Yeah.
living.
Yeah, and just like how people who don't know about senior living, they have myths about the senior living. I tend to
Mhm.
see the residents where I work have myths about social media. So we always talk about like the difference. So they'll come to me asking me questions about social media or like their phones, and I help them. And they're like, wow, I really didn't realize because they have those negative myths as well. It's just the difference in the generations. So I think that's amazing. But like talking to them and like explaining social media would help. Just like people who aren't in senior living, talk with them and explaining how senior living really is. Like there's just a bunch of bits everywhere that could be solved just by talking, just like conversations.
No, I agree. I did when I was doing an internship, I think it was two years ago, I had to get 5 reviews. So I'd ask residents, I'd be like, can you please help me with this review? They're like, no, I don't know how to do it. I was like, you know what? If I were you, I would tell me no too. Like at a certain point, it's like, I'm with you on this one. Because sometimes
Mhm.
technology is hard. I can barely figure it out half the
Yeah,
time.
I'm learning every day. Like there's things that come out every day, and I'm just like, wow, I don't know, I'm not understanding this either, so I gotta learn, and they're learning just
Yeah.
as well. And it's really
Hmm.
nice when they come to me and they have questions like with their phones or their computers and I get to help and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for showing me that." Like it's very rewarding.
Yeah, no, it is. What would you say is a reason or, many reasons why people would not go into senior living if given the option?
Um, I generally just think that the myths, um,
Hmm.
like that's just big. As soon as you bring up a assisted living facility or a nursing home, people automatically get the bad thoughts and like, oh, like those are just negative places. One that's really big is the older generation is just grumpy, and I'm like, oh, like
Yeah.
I really don't think that. So I honestly think that the myths are the big problems. If you've never been in a senior living community, you really have no idea what it really is like. You don't know that they every day that they have activities and they have fun and like they're living with their friends and they get to eat meals with their friends every day. They get to go out and do things like they're normal people. I think that the myths is big.
Yeah, no, that you're right. I actually saw a TikTok like a couple weeks ago, and it was this woman, her like grandfather was in an independent living like
Mhm.
facility, and she was complaining because she was like he's supposed to have 24-hour supervision and all this, and one of the commenters was like, "Oh, is he an independent?" And she's like, "Yes." So I think there's a lot of misconception about the different levels of the continuum because independent living is basically what me and you do. Like you
Yeah,
live in,
it
I
really
think
is.
there's a lot of confusion about what the levels are and what
Yeah.
amenities or what services come with that. So I think that also is like a huge misconception that a lot of people do not understand.
Yeah, misconceptions and myths. I think there's a bunch of education that could go on, even like
Mhm.
in like even in primary and secondary school. Just education on the background, I think would definitely help squash a lot of those myths and misconceptions. And even like learn about the different levels of care, like you said, independent living. Like she didn't realize that he's independent, so he does everything by himself. Like he chose to be the
Mhm.
independent living.
Yeah.
He does it all. So
I think it's one of those things too where a lot of residents they have a stigma against aging as well. It'll be, ooh, I'm not going to memory care, I'm not going to assisted living. So then their level of care suffers, the families get mad, and it's all because, there's a denial aspect and a stigma of moving throughout the continuum. I mean, we've seen it ourselves with
yeah,
residents who will make snotty little remarks. It's like, that's just your own fear talking, because they
yeah.
don't want to get older.
Yeah, like it's the same with me. Like I don't want to get older. Like I was
Hmm.
joking with my every time I go to my hairstylist, I'm like, please tell me like I'm not getting gray hair. Am I like it's just the same thing. Like they're scared and like when I'm talking to them with that like about it and they like decide like they actually need help, it's really hard. Like that is hard.
Hmm.
It's even hard for me to admit sometimes that I need help. So um like them being scared is definitely something that I understand, which I know when I get older, I'm going to be the same way. Like your life is changing, your body's changing. You don't really know like what you can do for your body anymore. So, um, but it is rewarding when they accept the help and then they get the help and then they're happy and they're thriving. So
Yeah,
I think,
that was one of the things that was one of the things that I learned in my field experience is because sometimes you hear some residents say some offhand remarks and it's like, wait, why would you say that? They're your friend. And it's like it's all fear-based. And
yeah,
at first you're kind of like, that's weird, but it really is, they're scared to get older, especially if there's a cognitive decline, that adds a whole nother level on top of it. And so you just have to realize like they're just scared and they just want the reassurance that or the fact that if it is going to be them, they want to know that they're taken care of. But yeah, I think that that's a really good point you bring up.
it's scary. I mean, I'd be scared too. Like your body's doing new things that you don't understand.
I
It's
can't
hard.
believe you're checking for gray hairs at 21.
Hey, you never know.
That's
You
actually
never know.
crazy, Jenna. What would you say do you see in the future of senior living? Like whether it's technology, population, like do you have any predictions that you think is going to happen?
Um, I definitely it's a growing field and I think it's going to get even bigger. Especially with technology. So people are going to
Mhm.
start choosing to come into facilities where they can be well taken care of. And these facilities are going to get even more technology. They're going to get even more equipment to better equip these people at the end stages of their life. They're going to be comfortable. They're going to have that security that there's tools there that they need if anything happens. So I definitely think that's going to start growing with the technology. And like the nurses are going to have more equipment to take care of these residents. So I think it's going to grow even bigger. I think the technology is just going to help it.
I agree. I think with the staffing issues that continue to go on, not even nursing, but dining room staff, I think
Mhm.
that there's going to be an influx of technology, whether it's some sort of robot or something to replace the human interaction that you sometimes can't get these days.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's either gonna be really good or really bad, but let's hope it's really good. And
Yeah.
all this technology is gonna make all these senior living, they're all gonna be comfortable, the residents are gonna be comfortable, the nurses are gonna be comfortable taking care of them,
Mhm.
gonna be well equipped. I think it's gonna be great. It's gonna definitely grow.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with the baby boomer population, how
Yeah.
that all shakes out. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be so many, and there needs to be so many more employees in senior living and so many more communities. Like at this point,
Yeah.
there's
Mhm.
not enough facility for the influx that's going to happen. So I'm definitely interested to see that because I think with that will come the growth of a lot of opportunity in the industry that people should take advantage of.
Like I even know here in Bowling Green, there was an old facility. It was no longer open, but somebody just bought it and they're completely renovating it. So I think
Oh,
yes, it's gonna grow even bigger.
dang, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, this is very recent. The past month,
Huh.
someone just bought it and like they're gonna start renovating it and like bringing it back up. So I think it's definitely gonna grow.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, Jenna, that's the end of the questionings I have for you. Once again, my name is Riley Taggett, and I am a research intern with Vision Center. And this is Jenna Potter, who is a new addition to the Vision Center team as an intern. But thank you, Jenna, for your time, and thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Riley.